My OCD kicking in. Hello, how are you? Good to see you. Hi, good to see you. I'll give you a second to get settled. As outlined to the other departments, in prior years, you would have received a different question, but considering the circumstances that we're under, understanding the status quo recommended budget, if you can explain what that entails as it relates to the operations for your respective department, and just for the viewing audience, if you can provide a brief synopsis of the services that you provide for the city, and the floor is yours.
All righty, so your first statement was status quo budget. If we receive a status quo budget, then we will operate within the finances that are provided for us, and we will work hard to do it in an efficient and effective manner, understanding if we did have a little more, we would be happy, but we're going to do a great job either way it goes. The criminal court clerk's office is responsible for maintaining the records of the criminal court, and there are a lot of duties and responsibilities that go along with that. That is our major responsibility. Of course, we also collect fees and fines for the criminal court system, and other operations will be discussed as I talk. I want to introduce for his first budget hearing with us, but not his first budget hearing, is Julius Sloss, who is our chief clerk, and he came to us very graciously from David Smith and juvenile court, and you see him smiling there, so he's not mad at me. And it's been a great addition to our office, and of course to my left, Nina Tucker, who is our finance officer, chief finance officer for our office, who has done a great job over the years and continues to do a great job. I'd first like to thank our staff of 86 full-time employees, and also in our main office and also the warrant and bond office for just doing a great job. They are the key to our success. They are the key to the way that we handle our customers within our office, and without them doing the job that they do, we could not be the office that we are, and I just want to thank them and congratulate them. In my previous time, or my last time coming before you, we had implemented several new initiatives, and I'd like to take this time to give you some data as it relates to the initiatives that we have implemented, and actually bring you up to date from July the 1st of last year to April. And there's an office that the council did approve about 4 years ago. 3 years ago, and it was our compliance office, and we received a PIP that provided an opportunity over a 3-year period for us to hire 5 staff in our compliance office. We don't call it collections because we do more than collect money. Once a judge makes the final disposition, it's the responsibility to that disposition to be complied with. And so more goes into it other than just collecting funds. So, but speaking of funds, the total revenue collected during that period is just over $832,000. We have over 3,000 people on payment plans. We have consulted almost 9,000 people through the compliance office. We have 423 persons that have paid in full as a result of the initial consultation. We have almost 1,400 defendant driver's licenses that have been released and reinstated, and we have declared or we didn't declare it, but 341 defendants have been declared indigent out of 2,222 cases. So that is the compliance office at work, and I'm very proud of the work that we're doing. We have one more position to fill in this budget year, and we will have our full complement of 5 employees for this budget year. We also have instituted online payments. And just to give you a little history, because that's what we brought forward last year, in 2016 fiscal year, we had 707 online payments for $27,000. Fiscal year 2017, we had 5,009 online payments for $950,767. In this current fiscal year, we've already had 5,172 online payments for a total of $1,149,000. Yes, and that is how that program, just online payments, has really enhanced our ability to serve our customers. Also, we had talked about a notice of cost to our customers who come to court. Before last year, we were not able to provide them with information on how much money they owed once they came before the judge. But now we're providing notice of cost immediately in the courtroom, and previously we would send out a notice within 48 hours and periodically over the year. But now we're able to let them know as soon as they walk out of the courtroom, and many of them come up to our office and are vetted at that time. So it's saving us a lot of cost in postage and also staff time, and it really provides us with relevant information on what their assessed costs. It provides them relative information on what their costs are immediately, and that immediacy does help us in being able to collect money. Also, I know you've all heard a lot about our expungements, and we're really excited about that because we've been able to double expungements over the last few years, and that doubling is consistent now, upwards around 30,000 expungements a year. And not only does it give people an opportunity to move forward with their lives as it relates to jobs and employment and what have you, it's also helped us to be able to inform the public of that right that they really don't know about. As a matter of fact, you've probably heard that we do a lot of expungement clinics across the city with partnerships with different churches and groups and what have you, and we do it on our own. And we now utilize laptop computers and portable printers and with a hotspot, and we're able to provide expungement papers on the spot so that people are able to be serviced right at that point. And you know, arresting cases are going down, but our expungements are still going up, which means that there are many people out there, really there are tens of thousands of people, if not hundreds and thousands of people who are out there whose cases could be expunged, but without the information and knowing that they're unable to get that done. We are working to alleviate that problem. Also, we talked about our website last time I came before you, and we were proud of the fact that our website had won a national award, being one of the top 10 websites in the nation. Well, last year, I'm proud to report that our website was number 7 internationally. And, you know, you might wonder, well, what's the big deal? It's a huge deal. We have over 16 million hits. We had over 16 million hits last year. That average session also lasted about 5 minutes. 76% of the visitors on our site are new, and 24 are returning visitors. So if you look at that number, it's not just about the criminal court office, it's about Metro government, because these people a lot of them are seeing the government site for the first time, and we're happy to be able to provide them with a service that is both beneficial but also respectful to the Metro government. And you heard Mr. Rooker talk about e-filing, and we are part of a collaboration between juvenile court, circuit court, and our office in the e-filing process. And I'm going to ask Julia Sloss to give you an update on the e-filing as it relates to the criminal court office.
Thank you, Mr. Gentry. I don't know to what extent Mr. Rooker talked to you all about e-filing, but I won't go in and rehash too much of it. But as Mr. Gentry mentioned, this is a collaborative project between the criminal court clerk's office, the circuit court clerk, as well as the juvenile court clerk. This project was awarded to originally Xerox and a company by the name of Tibera back in April of 2017, a little over a year ago. Since that time, Xerox went through a divestiture, and the company that we're dealing with now that they divested from is a company by the name of Conduent, still utilizing Tibera as one of the contractors, who is actually the main proprietor of the software that we'll be utilizing to implement this system. Currently, we're in the development stage. Mr. Rooker's office is scheduled to come online first. There are 3 phases. He's going to be the first phase, and tentatively he's scheduled to come online, I believe, in November of this year. And we are currently scheduled for April of 2019, spring of next year, and then the juvenile court clerk's office will come on in the summer of 2019. As I mentioned, we're in the development stage right now. Basically, all that means is that JIS, Justice Integration Services, is currently working with Conduent and Tibera, working out all of the specifications that are needed as far as computer and system requirements. Right now for our office, and I'm sure for Mr. Rooker's office, they're developing a testing area or a testing stage to make sure that when this thing comes online that we've already worked out, hopefully, all the kinks and the bugs. I guess going second, hopefully those kinks will be worked out in the first stage when they go through Mr. Rooker's office. But as Mr. Gentry stated, we're excited about the prospects of electronic filing. It's going to provide a great service to the citizens of Nashville. Attorneys will be able to file their documents from the comfort of their office. Citizens will be able to file documents from the comfort of their home, as long as they have a computer. So that's something that we will be doing over the next 12 to 18 months, bringing that online. And the whole goal is to become as paperless as possible. I mean, we're not going to try to dive into the pool on the 9-foot end immediately. We'll do this in phases, as we discussed with our judges about a week ago. So we will become as paperless as our appetites will allow at this time.
All right. Thank you. And are there any questions? Oh, I guess the chair would.
Vice Chair Schulman.
Yes. I've forgotten my role here.
It's my meeting, Mr. Gentry.
I know.
Okay, Mr. Clerk, remember,
Big chair in a long time.
remember you used to sit up there.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah. I need to stay in my place. Yes.
Vice Chair Schulman.
Thank you. Number of employees, how many employees are in your, in the clerk's office?
86 right now.
86. Okay, so it's listed as 88 for budgeted.
Well, because we have open positions.
Okay, so you have 2 vacancies at this point, is that right?
One of the things he mentioned, the compliance position that will be coming online, it actually was placed in this year's budget, but we were asked not to fill that position until July 1.
Was it in last year's budget?
Well, it's actually in this year's.
It's in this year's
It was
budget.
placed in this year's budget, but we were asked not to.
This year's budget. So was it funded this year, or?
I guess technically it was funded, but we were specifically asked not to fill that 5th position.
Okay, so go back again. So you've got 86 positions. And but you really have 88 budgeted?
Yes.
And so you've got the 2 vacancies?
Yes.
Any other vacancies or just those 2?
That's it.
Okay. All right.
And we need them. We can
Okay.
function with it.
So let me ask you this. I know that I was trying to figure out how Councilman O'Connell's, he passed the resolution that got rid of a lot of charges for those criminal fees. So how does that impact what you all do?
We're going to actually let the person who doesn't want to talk. Nina Tucker, matter of fact, we work very closely with Councilman O'Connell in this, and so, Nina, why don't you answer?
Sorry that I asked you to talk.
That's quite all right. We have projected that it's the jail fees that were, as part of that resolution, that is no longer going to be assessed beginning July 1st. And it's going to be difficult, for sure, to determine how that's going to affect our revenue, because we will be collecting jail fees for past cases that before July 1st. But I projected within the revenue a decrease of $290,000 in revenue based on not collecting the jail fees. But again, we need some true data from that to see how exactly it's going to affect our revenue.
Okay, so over the next year, once it starts July 1st, you're going to be able to, you're going to start watching that to figure
That's
out what
correct.
happens with those fees?
That's correct.
Okay. And you think it's going to be a loss of about $290,000?
Correct.
Okay, for just for the year?
For the fiscal year.
Okay, and then one other question.
And I would like to say that's the cost of doing justice properly.
I understand.
Okay.
Understand. Let's see, you're talking about your website, which is amazing. 16 million hits?
Yes. We even have that up to how many hours?
Wow.
It's over 1 million hours, yeah.
So 16 million hits, people watching it, people online for about 5 minutes on each of those hits?
Yes, average.
That's amazing. So how old is that system?
Well, the system's been in for ages.
Okay.
I mean, but the fact is we've updated it to a point where it provides a lot more opportunities for information than it has in the past. I mean, it has crime reports. People can see their records. They can go on. Well, really, the thing that I think is bringing a lot of people is that they're able to do online payments now and do a lot more online than they were prior to us upgrading.
Like last year, how many hits would you have had last year?
What that was last year.
That was actually the
That was
last
last
fiscal year. Those numbers are from last fiscal year.
Okay, so then the year
Yeah.
before, would you have any, I mean, did you have did something cause that spike?
I just think the more advanced it becomes, the more opportunities people have to utilize it. And so the spike comes with us improving the website on a regular basis.
Amazing. All right.
And actually, Councilman, that number, I'm looking at some figures here now, that number fluctuates, but it's still been up in that range. And for example, in 2016, there were nearly 18 million hits on that site in 2016.
Well, you're all falling down on the job.
Yeah, we're
You
falling
need
down.
2 million less. All right, thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Vice Chair Schulman. Councilman Pulley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Is the $290,000 accounted for in reduction in the revenue that you got in this year's budget?
Yes, that's accounted for this year's budget.
Would that be in charges, commissions, and fees? The
No,
three?
it's under the non-program. As part of that number.
In the
there.
fines, forfeits, and the penalties, that revenue?
It says non-program revenue.
Right?
That's where that is included. or
Okay.
deducted
I just wanted to give you an opportunity to speak to it because there's some pretty significant reductions in program revenue and non-program revenue on a couple of different categories, and wonder if you could help us understand what they are and what makes up those numbers.
Well, we've been monitoring a lot of the different cases within our office, and we have noticed, or we have reports that show that our number of general sessions cases, in 2012, we had over 43,000 cases where court costs were assessed. At the end of 2017 fiscal year, we had just over 26,000 cases. So we've had a drop in the number of cases in which court costs are being assessed. Is that based on the number of arrests being made, possibly, or the number, type of dispositions being granted on a case? A case, instead of being found guilty, could be found dismissed. So if it's a dismissed case, you're not having any court cost involved. We've also been monitoring the number of continuances that we have on cases, and they have increased from 2012 to 2017, the number of 17,000 times it's been continued on a case. So that's an increase in the time it takes from our case to be heard in court to a final disposition. So that extends the amount of time before we can actually assess any cost.
And what category does that impact?
That impacts your revenue in the fact that we're not assessing those costs. We're assessing those costs at a later date, or they may not have any costs assessed at all.
So we have three categories where there are reductions. One is program revenue, charges, commissions, and fees. Another is state direct revenue, which is down 35%, and another is non-program revenue and fines, forfeits, and penalties. Are you saying that what you just told me impacts all three of those?
It does not impact the state reimbursement, the state direct money. That is money that we send bills directly to the state. What occurred in that drop was originally I had thought that the number of cases that were going to be heard in state trial court was going to go up. So I had increased our revenue based on that. Plus, there's a TCA that was passed where the state had to be more timely in the manner in which they were refunding those funds to us. In the past, it would take them several months before we could get those funds from the state. The statute said they had to reimburse the counties in a more timely manner. So when that occurred, I bumped up our revenue thinking we were going to get it in a timely manner, which we have, but I over-projected the number of cases that we were going to be heard in state trial courts.
Councilman, Ms. Tucker tries to take the blame for this. There is no blame there. These estimates and projections that we make are made based on events that we have no control over. And so she's done an amazing job of trying to figure out what's going to happen within the courts and outside the courts with the data that we have. But on this one, yes, because of the circumstances, she did project more in that year. Circumstances didn't occur in the way she thought they would, but again, we can only go by the statistics of the past. And
no, I understand
okay.
that. And her explanation makes sense to me.
Okay, all right, okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Pulley. Councilman Roten.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think they answered all of my questions, but since I've got you on the spot, as a former vice mayor, as a legislator, who was more effective? Was it Councilman Shulman or Councilman Jameson? Do you recall that?
Really, I was probably the most effective.
Thank you, Mr. Chantry.
Thank you, Councilman
Thank you.
Roten. Seeing all the council members seeking recognition, that concludes the hearing for the criminal court clerk. The next department that we will have to come up will be the juvenile court and juvenile clerk. We will take them jointly. Thank you so much, Mr. Gentry, and the services that your area provides for the city.
Thank you.